Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. We have a game to talk about. It's not quite here yet, but it's coming soon. We are going to Cleveland to play against the Browns. And it's funny. You know what they say: if it's brown, flush it down. Well, we'll keep it clean today. It's the morning. It's not time for those kind of jokes. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Coming. I see you. I see Bebop and I see John. You guys are great. And Tony, I know you're there. I see you. She hasn't got her fingers on the keyboard yet. But hey, we appreciate you all for coming. If you do have something to drink, a cup of coffee or something, hey, grab it, bring it on. So we are going to get into this. The Cleveland Browns versus the 49ers. Do not underestimate the Browns. Why do we not want to underestimate the Browns? Because on any given Sunday, something could happen. And what's going to happen today? We're talking about the game. Tomorrow they're going to play. And we're going to see what happens. So if you want to dive into this, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the records. And the records are a little misleading. And the reason you can say that is both teams have been around for a very, very long time. So if you start diving into the records and the stats and you look around and you go, well, the Niners, we've had some good years and the Browns have had some good years. So let me bring up my first one. All right. If you guys can see that, let me know if you can't. But if you can see where it says Cleveland Browns lead series 12-8. Okay. Let's pull this back. Let's see if I can pull up my next one so you guys can see where I'm just a little confused. All right. Let's bring this one up. All right, folks. It is here now. So this one's just a little bit smaller. I'll try to work with it. Sorry, guys. Let's see if I can get the size a little bit bigger. All right, so I can't get the size bigger right now. I will practice that and get better at that. But if you look at this, again, you might have to get close to your phone or your computer, your TV, where you're watching from. And if you're not, and you're just driving and you're listening, just take my words. Total matches, 29. 29 matches. 29 matches. And why is it 29 matches? Because the Cleveland Browns and the 49ers used to play together in the AAFC. So there was a total match of 29 games. This will be the 30th game. And then there are 19 wins for the Browns and there are 10 for the Niners. Total points, 1,145. 598 for the Cleveland Browns, Niners 547. So right there, the Browns scored about 600 points, and the Niners have scored about 550, almost. So that's not too bad. At least the games aren't one-sided or lopsided or anything like that. You come down here to the percentage of the wins. The Cleveland Browns have won 65% of the time. That's won 19 games. Home percentage, the Cleveland Browns have it at home. They have it on the way. Points per game, they have us by 20. We put up 18. Home points per game, 21. Away points, 19, 16. So when we go on the road, we put up less points. That's something to think about. And the other thing that we should think about here, what's the biggest points that's ever been scored against the Niners and the Browns? The Niners' biggest score was 56. That was the biggest score that we scored. I don't think the Browns have scored anything close to that. So let's go back to the other picture, because the other picture is the one where the other one was the one that I would like to show you guys. Okay, so we'll get back to that in a second. All right, nobody really wants to hear about all the old games and stuff, right? Well, I do. I like talking about them. I like talking about them. I like, breaking it down, because there is history over it, and you have to take the history into account. We're looking at all the games is because there's an average, and even though these teams are different, they're totally different. The franchise has come and gone and changed. It's still the same teams. It's still the same culture. It is. The fans are the fans. Now, I'm sure that there's not going to be anyone who's watched the first game that's going to be watching this game, and if there is, well, shout out to you. We should really salute you. But if you look at this, and this right here, it says 12-8. And these are the records going off of the merge. In 1950, the Niners merged with the Cleveland Browns to the NFL. They stopped playing in the AAFC. That league it didn't necessarily fold. It disbanded. It was assumed, into the NFL. They only took a select few teams, and they took the Niners and the Browns. The Browns were the best team. And I think, looking at this, what I found is in 1949, the Niners went to the AAFC championship against the Browns and lost. The Browns only lost that season in 1949 was to the 49ers. We played them 3 times that year. We won the second game, then we lost the third game. So I think because we had made it to the AAFC, that gave us an opportunity to get into the. Let me take a second and shout out everybody in the chat. Thank you again. We have Bebop, we have John, we have Carcast, we have Scott, we have the Sentinel, and Crazy Juice. Guys, thanks so much for coming. All right, so the last time we played the Browns, if you guys remember, my computer will slow down just a little bit. It was 2019 season, and that was a juggernaut of a game. The Niners put up 31 points. The Cleveland Browns weren't hardly able to do anything in that game. They put up 3 points. So, okay, sometimes it wins out for us. And you drop down just a little bit, right? Look at the next game in 2015. Niners 10, Cleveland 24. 2011, we won. 07, they won. 03. If you guys remember this one here, this was horrible. This was super horrible. In 03, we lost to the Browns 13-12. It's one of those things, but it's not something that 03 was a bad. 03, 04, 05, these were the 07, these were the days where everybody said, it's funny that the Browns are always competing for first place, get that first round draft pick. Well, these are the years that the Niners were competing as well. You go to 93, the Super Bowl years, right? San Francisco 13, Cleveland 23. Who was that? Was that Steve Young? Was that Joe Montana? Who was that? 1990, we won by a field goal. 87. Now that's a score we'd like to see, especially with a Super Bowl team. 38-24. 84. In 1984, the Niners put 41 points up against the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. So this is the game that I'd like to see, the type of score that I'd like to see for this game. 81, 15-12. That's like baseball scores. It's getting a little crazy there. In 78, this is how when we had Jim Plunkett. 49ers scored 7, and the Cleveland Browns scored 24. This is the game in 1974 that we should, we don't want to always harp on games and have them on our wall and circle them and always walk by and see it as an ugly sore spot. But this is one that we should not forget. In 1201, 1974, we got shut out. The Niners haven't been shut out too many times in their history, but this is one of those times that it happened. 0-7. If you lose by 1 point or a million points, put up a point, it's still a shutout. In 1970, Cleveland 31, San Francisco 34. This is the time that the Niners had John Brody, and they were running, and they were making a good run for the playoffs. This is the first year that the Niners went to the playoffs. We sadly lost to the Cowboys in the championship game, but that was that year, 1970. That was Niners. We are here. In 1968, the Cleveland Browns, it was 33 at San Francisco, 21. Cleveland 13 at San Francisco, 10. 21 to San Francisco, Cleveland 20. That's 1959. And that starts making you feel a little bit better. Like, hey, we both came into the league in 1950, and they are not such a superior team than us. It's not. See, the Niners used to play the Browns twice a season. They were a divisional opponent. 1946, 47, 48, we played them 2 times. In 1949, we played them 3 times. So we know the Cleveland Browns. It's like the Rams. We know the Cleveland Browns. And shout out to the Rams, who are also from Cleveland. If you didn't know, now you know. So in Cleveland, 1962, 1959, 1955, 38-3. Hey, at least we got a field goal. 1953, 21-23. We needed more than a field goal there. 1951, 10, San Francisco 24. And 1950, San Francisco 14 and Cleveland 34. And I know these are just a bunch of numbers and stuff, but it has meaning to it. It's why we play the game. It's why they record the score. And if you think about it, and you think, oh, the Niners are just going to walk into Cleveland and run over, the history doesn't show that. The history, if you believe in curses, if you believe in the boogeyman, then this is something that we need to listen to. They have been saying that the Cleveland Browns have been cursed. The Cleveland Browns have been cursed since they left Cleveland, moved to Baltimore, and became the Ravens. Now, the city was able to keep the name of the Cleveland Browns. The Baltimore Ravens changed the name. It's really funny because Baltimore seems to lose a lot of football teams. Baltimore lost the Colts, who were, prior to being the Colts, the Miami Seahawks. So all this changing and all this stuff going on, teams moving around, it's happened in the past. But the Seahawks, the Miami Seahawks, moved to Baltimore, changed names, changed ownership. Years later, moved to Indianapolis to become the Colts, to stay the Colts, right? Then the Browns later on move out of Cleveland to the Ravens, to the Baltimores, and they changed their name to Ravens. Great. Perfect. Works out for everybody, right? Well, Cleveland still wasn't with the team. And this happened in the 90s. And when Cleveland's team came back, because I believe Cleveland stopped being a team for, I want to say 2 years. But when Cleveland came back to being a team, they're basically an expansion team. And sometimes expansion teams can take off really quick, and sometimes it takes a little bit of while. And this is where maybe the curse comes involved at. You let your team walk out of your city. You totally you really did. If it wasn't for the fans, the Cleveland Browns wouldn't be around. If it wasn't for the fans who root for their team, winning or losing record every year, you wouldn't have a team. And I guess that could be said about anything. But if you look at this, the only reason there's still football in Cleveland is because the fans said, no, this isn't right. You're an owner, you can move your team wherever, but we still want our team. And at the end of the day, you got Canton, Ohio. It's right there. Football Hall of Fame. It makes sense that Cleveland has a team. It makes sense that the Bengals are where they're at. The Bengals are only where they're at because of Cleveland. Cleveland let Paul Brown go. Paul Brown went and started the Cincinnati Bengals. Oddly enough, he liked the colors so much. The Bengals are the same color uniforms. The Bengals were basically the Cleveland Browns South. It's just funny sometimes how that works out. But I really like talking with everybody here, and I really wanted to get into this because you look at, again, this right here says 12-8. The score is not 12-8. The record is not. The record's 19-10. This is our 29th matchup. But if you Google stuff, and sometimes you got to Google it more than once or twice, 2 or 3 times, sometimes you might have to Google it to actually find what this is all about. There's patterns and there's numbers that add up and they make sense. And some people, oh, well, you just dotted all the lines and you made a picture out of nothing. No, the picture is real. We cannot go into this game and think that we're just going to walk in and walk out with nothing. Nothing's. I'm not afraid of this game, but I just like looking at the history and showing, like, look, we've had Super Bowl teams that's lost to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns. Can anybody tell me, in the chat? Can anybody throw out a quarterback of the Browns that was a Hall of Famer, or a quarterback in the Browns that was, just a household name? Otto Graham. That's who the Cleveland Browns have. Otto Graham is one heck of a football player. He went to several championships. He went to several championships with the Cleveland Browns, and then when they merged into the NFL, he went on to win several more championship games. Now, when you get into diving into some of these things and stuff, people write things, and sometimes maybe they're not necessarily correct, or maybe they're doing the best they can. We can give them the benefit of the doubt like that. But you look at this and you say, okay, why? Why don't we have the correct stats? People make mistakes, right? So my point there, one website references the Cleveland Browns going to 10 10 championship games. One of them reports says that they didn't go that many. Okay. My point is he's went to 8 championship games and he's won 8, and I believe he's went to 10 and he's lost 2. So it's almost like every year he played, he was in the championship game. Wars happen and things happen, and if you go through history, you'll see that a lot of the NFL teams had army and soldier and military routines and procedures, and the reason that was happening is because some of the guys had to go to fight war, and they had to. It's something that you believe in your country. You want to make sure that there's somewhere safe for your family to be and the people that you live with, and your family, your friends, where you put your head at, you want it to be safe, right? So sometimes war happens. It's not necessarily our choice on why it's happening, but it happens. So there's been several players in the NFL history that's suited up and went to war or went into the military and served for their purposes, right? For our purposes. There's clips of the Cleveland Browns running around with guns, doing their routines, and at practice. And sometimes you have to multitask, and they took time out of their practices and they trained as soldiers. Guys, war sucks, and we really need to look around the world and say, hey, what are we really doing? But we're not here for that today. This isn't that show. This show is us again talking about the Cleveland Browns. There's only so many quarterbacks that they've had. They've had probably a lot more than any other team. At one point during the 2000s, we were catching them, but the Browns do seem to go through a lot of quarterbacks. And this game in particular, they have another superstar quarterback. He's made headlines for a lot of different reasons, for good and bad purposes. And the most famous probably isn't the one that we want to talk about right now. But he won't be playing because he's injured. And he took himself out of the game a couple of weeks ago. I believe they had a bye week last week, and they didn't play. And he said he's not going to be able to play this game either. So DTR, a guy that I really like, sometimes when you say I have a quarterback, and you're like, I have another quarterback. Well, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. So I like to think if you have a quarterback with 2 last names, maybe you have the one. So DTR is the one, right? DTR came from UCLA, and he got put into a game a little bit too fast, a little bit too quick, maybe with not enough prep time, right? We all need prep time. That's how you win the wars. You have prep. That's how Batman wins everything too. If you don't know, I'm a big Batman fan. Batman, I truly believe, can beat anybody anybody if he has the right amount of prep time. You can plan for something, you can account for it, right? So you get to this. He pulled himself out of the game. DTR had to go in. DTR didn't play very well. the rest of the team didn't play very well. Now they're down to their third string quarterback. TTR is not hurt, but I guess they think he needs to be a little bit. They need to sit him for a little bit so he can get a little bit more feeling, or maybe there's a secret underlining injury that they don't want to tell us right now, because again, you don't disclose everything. But he will be the emergency quarterback. So it's funny that Watson can't play. He can't start against us because he's hurt, but he's going to be the second string quarterback. What do you guys think? Do you think this is something that's maybe he just doesn't want to go up against a really good defense like the Niners? Is he afraid that is he going to get hurt? Is his offensive line not going to be able to hold him up? You know, we don't do good against scrambling quarterbacks. So is that his fear? Is he thinks he's going to get out of the pocket and then we're gonna hit him and he's going to get hurt? You got to play with your heart, and you can't play with fear. If you play with fear, you can play cautious. You can play smart, but you can't play with fear. If you play with fear, you've already lost. So at this point, hey, real quick again, let me shout out the chat. We got a lot of people here. Really appreciate y'all guys. Okay, starting from the top again, because that's how we like to do it. Start from the top. Bebop, my good buddy John. We got Carcast, Scott. We know Scott. Scott's a great guy. He helps and supports so many channels. We got the Sentinel, Crazy Jews. We got Soli 684, Aloha. He's a good buddy. The Sentinel, awesome. You guys check his channel out as well. Bebop, he's telling everybody hello. And let's see. We have King Mufasa in the chat. King Mufasa supports everybody as well. He's real big 49er supporter. We got Raphael. Hey, Raphael, a good show. And if you guys don't know about Raphael, he's a Raider, okay? But you got to like Raider fans, right? Because there's always something you can say to a Raider fan, or they'll say something back, and it's always fun. If you have a good buddy who's a Raider fan and you can joke, definitely get you some of that. But Raphael, he has a great Raiders channel. So if you guys type in his name, you can subscribe to his channel, really help him out. He does a lot of different stuff, but yeah, he's very, very passionate about the Raiders. We got David McNiner in the house. What's up, David? And we got John again. Guys, appreciate you all. So if you could hit the like button, if you could tell somebody about my channel, I'd appreciate it. I like doing these breakdowns where we talk a little bit about the team, and we get into a little bit more of the information maybe people aren't necessarily talking about. And if you come away with any facts from this, and you tomorrow you're sitting there on the couch and you look over at your girlfriend or your friend or anything, and you say, hey, blah blah blah, and they look at you and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. Hey, high five, you learned something new today, right? So the third string quarterback playing for the Browns, we should not underestimate him. He played with us against us last year with the Carolina Panthers, and I think he was like 5 for 6. He wasn't horrible, but we had already just we took care of the Panthers. So the Panthers last year, everybody kind of knew that they were in a rebuilding mode. Just because the cat's rebuilding or a team's rebuilding doesn't mean that you got to take them lightly. They are, you back up the opponent into a corner, they will attack. And the Niners knew what we were getting into last year when we played against the Panthers. But the Panthers, again, they weren't fooling anybody. They were selling. They were selling. They're in rebuild. It might take them a year or two. I'm going to say 2 or 3 years before they're decent, because right now they got a rookie quarterback and they got a lot of pieces that they got to fill. Shout out to Dina. Thank you, Dina, for coming. Hope you are having a fantastic Saturday. And I hope you're going to get to check out the Browns game tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. Dina, she's on that side of the country, so she's probably hearing a little bit more chatter and noise about the Browns. You look at the Browns, and some things, don't always stay the same. Some things do. Now, they've always been orange, but they seem to be going through like a crisis identity crisis, right? And what I mean by that is, if you look, you just Google the Browns, and Google images of the Browns, you'll start seeing so many different jerseys, so many different styles of jerseys, so many different, the helmet basically stays the same, but Cleveland, I don't know if they think, oh, we got to change our shirts to start winning or something. Now, they definitely have beaten us a lot in the past, but when it comes up to other teams, there's been some points where they've gotten to the playoffs, they've lost, they've gotten so close, but they just can't get it done. The Cleveland Browns are one team that has not made it to a Super Bowl. They've made it to multiple championship games and won them, but they have not made it to a Super Bowl. So this year, if you look at the Cleveland Browns' new logo, yes, new logo, they still have the elf. If you guys have ever seen the little elf, looks like the little guy from Keebler Cookies, or he looks like the Lucky Charm guy without the Irish. They got an elf on the field, and their elf's name, their mascot's name is called Brownie, but they've also changed their logo once again. Some things stay the same, some things, they got to keep on changing things out. So now they have an actual bulldog, and it's got Cleveland Browns colors. And take a look at it. I'm not going to pull it up right now. I'd encourage you to go look at the new Cleveland Browns logo. They call themselves the Dog Pound, which is really cool. Different stadiums have different sections of the field, and you're like, hey, we're in the gold mine section, right? Well, the Raiders have the black hole. The Dog Pound is in Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns are known as the Dogs. And hey, I always thought it's kind of a cool thing, to have like a extra name for your team. It's kind of a nickname to your team's, but again, however you got to get excited about your team, that's fine. Or, reinvent your team. At a certain point, your team's been around forever. So for you to have to keep changing the colors and schemes and stuff, if you go back to, or if you tune in tomorrow, you'll see the AAFC championship flyer. And that's pretty cool. The team's colors, the Niners colors are the same. You'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out what the Browns uniforms were. It's just one of those things. Different times in culture, people have different colors, and kind of weird to be called Browns and not have brown on your uniform. But we'll wait for that, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Hey, good morning, Corey. Appreciate you for coming. And if you guys didn't know, we also have John LaJoy in the chat. He's got a great channel. It's going to be popping out, new channel, new shows, new stuff. It's a fan show. It's a great show he's starting, and he's going to be doing a show later today. So tune in. You might see somebody that you recognize, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I believe, John, if you want to put the time in the chat, I believe it's 11 o'clock if you can confirm that. So guys, before we get out of here, because it's been a great show, I got to give a shout out, a special birthday shout out to my daughter, Lily. She is my little Lily. She's getting a little bit bigger. She's not as little as she once was, but we're going to have a nice party for her today. Nice barbecue, people coming by and saying hello. And she's turned 12. So, hey, they don't stay long forever. And every day that they wake up and you see them, it's a blessing. And I just want to say happy birthday, Lily. And I hope you have a great day. And you just keep being you, because you really do make me proud. Something really cool about Lily's birthday. Yesterday was Jerry Rice's birthday. Just a couple of days ago was Steve Young's birthday. And today's her birthday. So if that's not, a bunch of goats' birthdays, and I'm not calling my daughter a goat, but she is the greatest. She is the greatest. So really do appreciate it. Shout out to Bashar. Thank you for coming. If you guys don't know about Bashar, definitely check his channel out. He's one of the bigger ones out there, but he's been doing it for a while, and he puts out great stuff. Great stuff. So guys, remember, tomorrow, whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, watching the game, enjoying the game with whoever you are, hopefully you walked away with a couple stats. Remember, 1949, Cleveland Browns played us in the AAFC championship, and we lost. I wasn't around, but just as soon as I found out, I'm not over it. It's going to take me a while, but getting this W this weekend, it's going to help. It's going to help a whole lot. So guys, with that, definitely check out the game tomorrow. It's going to be an early game. So, have fun. And most importantly, go Niners, stay faithful. Shout out to Big Mac Sports. If you don't know about Big Mac, he's got a channel as well. Great guy, puts out a lot of great stuff. And he does a lot of cool stuff where he breaks down players, gets more into depth, and you just got to check out his channel. He's got a great guy. But guys, thank you so much for coming. we're going to get out of here. I think I'm going to go wake her up and go get her some donuts or something. But she's a sleepyhead today. So guys, thank you so much for coming. Please like, share, subscribe, check out my channel, tell somebody about it, come back and see us again. And go Niners. Tomorrow we got the Browns. I'll see you guys real soon. You have a good day.